It's like a car payment from 2017 era.
This podcast is a car payment.
Yeah. There was some stat I saw that it was something like the average household now is like paying, I don't know, it was like $700 or $800 a month in car payments, which is
That's crazy.
bananas. You're like, wow, that seems so low. I'm at 2K. I mean, I'm not at 2K. Are you at 2K with your fleet of Mercedes yet?
We own both our cars. We don't have any car payments.
Oh,
So it's real nice. It's real good. Not having debt's real good. I was a big Dave Ramsey guy for a while, and actually, like, they have this thing called Entre Leadership, and you can go to Nashville and go to this big event, and it was excellent. They did it very, very well.
this is contrary to how this episode has started. Getting to market where
It
the
is.
jobs are real, but the roles are negotiable. Today's episode was one that we've been talking about for a little while, and it's kind of a fun one. The idea being that maybe it's you're coming into it, maybe it's that you've been working on it for a while, but as a product marketer or product manager, and I guess maybe the angle of this one's more focused on product management, you're coming into a bad product. So I
Mm.
think we all kind of dream about the fun that would be just working on like the perfect product, which maybe doesn't exist, but you come in or you are working on a bad product. So that's the topic of today's episode. John, you have a burgeoning segment that I think we've done half-heartedly once where we break it down. What was your break it down subject for this week?
Oh, I didn't actually have one. I thought you were gonna have one.
You said before we hit record, I'm going to give it to you live, and then
Oh,
was
oh, that.
was that not a break
Yeah,
it
we can
down?
riff on that. Break it down. The thing I was thinking about is the whole idea is you're at an organization, you're there, you start using phrases, and then you change
Yeah,
organizations,
and a
or
whole
you
new
change a
set of
group of
phrases.
people
Yeah.
and new language, and then people don't know what you're talking about. So slide seven. Have you ever heard me say slide
No.
seven? Slide seven is one that I would use a lot. And really the intent of slide seven was don't talk about the company or private stuff
mm.
unless you know who's around you with high confidence. And the lesson, kind of the thing that it was the seventh slide in a
hmm
presentation that we all got, through kind of like not onboarding, but similar enough type stuff. It kind of got it pounded into us. That's where it came from. But the whole idea was the person who delivered it shared a story that they were at an airport and they were just griping about a coworker.
Yeah.
And they were in a position to change their role. Like they ended up firing this individual. And so they were like talking about it pretty loudly at an airport and got on the plane, got off the plane, had a call from that individual. They were like, "Hey, I guess my job here is done." And the person's parents were sitting behind in the
What?
airport.
How did they
Isn't that
know?
crazy?
Like, were they using the last name? How would they know?
They were just saying company name, saying
Oh,
individual, and then so just that idea of know your surroundings a little bit. So
yeah.
I do really like slide seven, but no one knows it. And I'm like, slide seven. Be like, what are you talking about?
The idea is really good. It feels like it only has applicability to that one
Exactly.
org just because of the specificity of that. Yeah, that's funny. Main conversation is bad products. So, John, from a product management perspective, I'm curious. This is the kind of scenario that interested me more, which is, for whatever you want to say about the interview process, I think it's probably difficult to suss out from that whether or not you're coming into a good or bad product.
Hmm.
Maybe they're really explicit about the stuff that they're looking to fix, and so maybe they do kind of share that. But I think in general, there's probably higher odds than not that you won't really know what type of product you're coming into. I'm curious, before we even get to like what you do with it, is how do you know if it's a bad product?
That's funny. It's a funny association that you're making between like, why didn't you find that out in the process of learning? I hadn't thought about it through just in, like when you start a job, then you get a bad product and uh-oh, and you kind of get surprised.
Yeah.
We could talk about that a little bit,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
is a little bit interesting. You've made fun of me publicly or privately or probably both of like, just kind of I have the utopian thinking like I only want to build really cool stuff. And very rarely does anybody get to actually build the crazy cool stuff that they want to. Like it's just a unique thing to, not everyone's working on the iPhone,
hmm
not everyone's working at Pixar. I try to break down a little bit. A bad product is it just doesn't function. And I don't think that's what you're talking about, where it's just like defects. It just straight up doesn't work. There's nothing to it.
I mean, but
That
there's
could
an
be.
element of that being kind of a part of what any company's working on. Truthfully, there's some things about maybe it works just enough for people to
Hmm.
have to continue paying for it, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't have confidence in it. They don't enjoy using it.
Mm-hmm.
It has like a
Mm-hmm.
negative NPS score. Like, what are you? What else are you looking at to say that it's
Mm-hmm.
like? How often are you doing like competitive analysis or getting that from PMM to help you kind of understand where it fits in the broader landscape?
In a way, you're kind of asking, like, what is a bad product and how do you know what a bad product is? Like the defects is one that's relatively
To be clear,
straightforward.
I'm directly asking that. That is, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
good. Okay, cool. In a lot more words. This, then you can, if there's not a market to win, like you could have a really great product, but there's no market for it. That could be the very best of a thing that
Yeah.
no one's interested in, and that's that. And
How do you know that? Like, I'm curious how you would know that for things where you don't necessarily have the benefit of
mhm,
a Gartner or Forrester telling you like what the market is for a thing. What are you using as
mhm.
resources to kind of help you figure out what your market is?
You could pretty directly look at your sales as the biggest metric of do people want this? And that sounds very basic and very stupid. But I think it is actually that straightforward. It could be price, it could be other go-to-market stuff. But if you look at just features and you go out and talk to people, hey, would you buy a thing that has this feature? And they say no before you've ever said price, then you're like, oh, maybe there actually isn't a market for this. I was talking to an entrepreneur that built an app to help high-end home buyers find their second or third homes. And so the criteria that that individual, it was really, really interesting.
Hmm.
The criteria for that individual to buy their house is different. It's proximity to an airport. Can I get in and out really quickly? It's golf carts. What's the golf cart community? Is it on a thing like, so the things that that buyer is looking for is really different.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that was like, it wasn't working. It wasn't selling. There wasn't a market for I'm going to go to a website like a Zillow, find a thing, turn around and buy it.
Yeah.
When you find yourself with a product in that situation, you're like, I thought I had this thing, I'm going to turn around and sell it. There's usually some value in that overall idea. It's just like the presentation of that. And so for them, the data on lead gen for home buyers showed him that it wasn't the home buyer, it wasn't the homeowner finding the property. It was like executive assistants. It was
Yeah.
other people helping them find it. And so that pivot for them was like, oh, now I can take brokers and connect them to the professional assistants that are supporting these individuals that are buying it. It was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And so the market was there, the value is there. There are people that are trying to buy it. It is a good idea of a product, but the implementation of the product totally fell on its face.
Yeah.
And then you pivoted and kind of went after that. And like there is a market there.
If the product isn't selling, and there's not kind of fundamental defects you think in like the broader go to market, is price the first thing you're trying to rule out?
Yeah, yep. Almost because if it's free, will I grab it? It's an indicator. Like it could be missing features and it just doesn't solve a problem for you. Great. It's standard product management. Go do that stuff. If there's competition, that's another thing. You can kind of talk like why competition, what stuff is there, kind of work through that. But the price is almost the easiest to me. If I were to drop this and make it free, would you buy it? And for better or for worse, I was talking to a product leader once and they said, oh, product market fit is easy. Have I told you this story?
No.
They're like product market fit is easy, and I was like, hey, do tell, because a lot of people say it's not. Like come down from your high mountain and tell us how to do
Hmm.
this. But he's like, no, just like if you go to a sales meeting and they don't buy it for that price, go to the next one and drop it to a third of that price. And if they buy it and you do it again and they buy it, then go to another one and do it. And it was basically what he was saying is product market fit is based on price first for him.
Mm.
And so it wasn't about features, it wasn't about capability. He kind of brought a straw man of an idea with features in a product that actually functioned and said, hey, would you pay $5,000 for this? No, we don't have product market fit. But it was interesting because it broke the mindset out of the product market fit. It is really hard to say for this set of features and this set of capabilities at this price, is that right? And it kind of broke it apart to say, like, well, capabilities might change, but the price is the easy one to fix. So I'll just drop that and see what happens and go from there. And
I want to go on another. We should like trademark these Nate's detours on pricing, which is
.com.
pricing and packaging just seems like such a difficult science,
Yes.
one, but two, I think it's a really difficult thing to experiment. It's like a costly thing to experiment with.
Well, a product leader you and I both know and respect. I was in a meeting with them not that long ago, and they said no one internally should ever do pricing. That should just pay for it. It's not a full-time
Yeah.
job. It's not for anything. You have to be a very large organization to
Yeah.
have a full-time pricing person. Otherwise, just pay for it. So it's interesting you brought it up.
And they should be a full time, like, it's just not a thing that, like,
Hmm.
if you're not committed to as a discipline, and it feels like it's just its own
Hmm.
discipline at this point, that other
Hmm.
people should be hobbyists in. Yeah, it's interesting that that was that person's take. I have a guess as to who that person was. I'm curious to hear off air.
It was me. I'm just saying it was
Yeah,
me.
I'm sure it was. You were the
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
with your mouth wide open, nodding, being like, "Oh, that's really smart."
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I'll write that down. I'll quote myself as that later. The other part that, like, if it's not selling,
yeah,
the competition is a real thing. And like more and more, I'm like, God, he was right. I mean, like, I know I'm a little dismissive of competition. In a lot of ways, I still have an ability or I still have an appetite to be like, it's not competition. Like, great products win. And if you pay more attention to what your customers need and innovating for the sake of those customers, then you'll lead the competition. And then you don't have to worry so much about that. But you're probably right. And regardless, that is a factor
I'm
for
100%. Well, here. We'll go on another of Nate's detours, which is let's take this bad product example and let's put you in a pretty competitive market, and let's say you're a little under resourced where you are wanting to focus on getting to parity or whatever with your competitors. How are you viewing your competition if you're in a resource constrained environment with your product? What are
Mhm.
you focused on most intently to try to beat out your competition or to keep up with them?
Wait, let me say back what I think you're asking about. Let me describe the situation. So I have a product that's bad, that's in a market that I have share of, and more competitors have joined that market. How do I make my product better? And do
What are
you
you
focus
focusing
on
on?
competition? I think this gets a little bit into like what are the ways you fix a bad product, and what are all the different stuff that's in there. Part of it is just like core feature stuff. And this is where if you focus on competition at a core feature level, it's really easy to be like feature parity competitor to competitor as opposed to stopping, seeing what they're trying, like what they being the customers are doing, what stuff is happening, what's going on in the market, that sort of stuff. I would rather spend my time doing that and then building the features that either don't exist or will be necessary soon than worrying about feature parity with the customers or with the competitors rather. Then inside of that, there are some table stakes features that you have to have. I'm working on products now that have table stakes features we do not have, we have to have. Fine. We'll just build that stuff. But then when you start looking at like in the market, is there green space that they're not in, or their features or flows, or just different things that here's where the market's going and where nobody's playing. That's where my opportunistic side dives in. Like, okay, I'm going that direction.
Is innovation inherently more costly to build than feature parity?
I think it's a logical fallacy that innovative ideas are more expensive, more costly to build than pure feature parity. Even if you don't take out, if you take opportunity costs out of the equation and you're just looking at what's it cost to build a thing, I don't think you can say innovation, whatever that might mean to somebody, is always more costly to build. It's more risky for sure.
How are you incorporating like voice of customer research and work into how you're prioritizing those things for a bad product?
You're not asking tactically, but just like, hey, if we're here and we're kind of shifting and moving to a new market or a new focus.
What in a VOC, I guess, moves you to move faster on something? Because here's a couple
Mm-hmm.
things I think sometimes happen in VOCs, which is there's a
Mm-hmm.
disconnect sometimes between the data and quantitative research that's being put together from surveys and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the very real, very human quotes from customers who have been interviewed who are saying like this is miserable to use or we're having these issues
Yeah.
with it, but you're not necessarily seeing that populate volume wise in like surveys. How are
Mm.
you kind of weighing those things in terms of what you want to prioritize to remediate?
Here's a dirty little secret. Very few product managers are actually doing anything with VOC, right? Like if you look at what's actually going on, are in aggregate, are product managers collecting and then aggregating different stuff, or are we just more apt to listen to the loudest, most recent voice.
Or your biggest customer.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yep. In that way, this product manager ethos of we're going to aggregate all of the features, things that people want, and then put that together to weigh the biggest ones. I have yet to see that happen effectively compared to I'm going to do each individual thing. I'm going to listen to this story. I'm going to, like the loudest customer, the biggest customer, that sort of thing. But we all still have a feature ideas thing. We all still have that sort of thing. So I think your question is a bit of like, well, why do we do that? Well, my response to the angry customers, like, this thing is garbage, is very different from I've got a bunch of ideas, I've got a bunch of grumbles, I've got a bunch of whatever. The garbage person elicits a conversation, a phone call, a Teams, or whatever. Say, hey, like, I saw that. I'm not seeing that anywhere else. What's going on? What's up? And just finding out more. And then you start like, oh, yeah, that is bad. And I got to do something about it. So you have to separate out from the aggregate view when you see those things.
Do you think that's something that is as much of the current product management discipline as maybe it should be, though?
Voice of customer?
Well, the chasing detective work that you kind of called out there.
I don't know that it's utopian as much as maybe it would just we could all do better to have it as an expectation. Like 5 hours a week, you set aside that like open hours to talk to customers, just kind of dedicating, committing time to do that sort of like, I'm going to find out, I'm going to talk to, I'm going to put together, and then I'm going to train my gut to
Yeah.
figure out what I should do. Very few of us are doing. Very few of us. I mean, I really think you'd be hard pressed. The aggregate stuff is really hard to find out where a customer's actually going. I don't know how much it is a hill I'm going to die on. I mean, I love data. Data is a very big part of how I do what I do. I use very little data to understand. I like real data to understand what next product increments we should do. I use my gut and intuition, which is trained by 50 conversations with customers, different, doing a little bit kind of the day-to-day stuff. But can you quantify back down to, these 40 customers with this much market share and this other stuff, such that X outcome at this close rate will produce this for the business, and so it's better? I don't think so.
How, like hand of God, power, you come into an org, how often would you mandate VOC work being done?
That might be in the utopian world. Maybe that's the dirty little secret of like, no, none of us are doing it, and we all want it. We all want to say that we're doing it, but none of us want to do the work of it. Well, this is my last day at my current job. Thanks for everything.
I feel like you're very good at making mid products.
You're just solid C.
In summation,
When you have a bad product, you have to like, what is bad? What is a bad product? It's either just broken. Great, go fix it. Or it's not, doesn't have a market. So it's bad because you can't actually sell what you've built to that market. No one actually wants to buy it, whatever. Or you're actually in a market, it has maybe even have share, but you're not getting more of it. So you're not selling in a market. So there is a market there, but your product is bad because it's not growing inside of that. And there's different responses to each one and different stuff you should do. If the product is broken, just fix it. Like if there's like huge defects, huge situations, huge stuff, that feels pretty straightforward. If you have a product that's bad and you find it's bad because it's in a market that is just, there is no market. Like there's basically, you built the thing and there's nothing for it. That's where I'd say like use what you've made to pivot. The thing you've built, people aren't buying. There isn't a market for it. That's nothing, but there's still something valuable there. So don't scrap it. Don't throw it all away, but just look at what other ways that you can pivot and kind of look at your customers differently or look at what stuff you can do. But that last one of like, well, if you have a bad product and you find out that it's bad because you're not winning in the market, well, why wouldn't you be winning? Well, you're missing core features. Go do product management stuff, get new features, get that stuff added. You're competing and you're losing to competition. That's where like things get really interesting. Where like the product change isn't the only thing that helps you win against the competition. It's not the only lever that you have to pull.
sure. Last question on this, which is just more of a personal one. Which of those is like the most fun for you?
I do like the creative side of like if you've made a product that's not winning in market because you found there's no market, that's probably the most fun for me because there's more creativity inside of that. There's more opportunity like, okay, I'm going to take this thing, turn around, find out what we can do to build it, go and launch. It's almost like what else do you have to lose? It's a bad product not selling. Like you don't have to maintain too much. You can just clean house and try to see what happens and kind of go from there.
The button I want to put on this conversation is a little agnostic to product management. Maybe the fastest way to have all of those examples on your resume is by working at multiple companies. And it's one of the reasons that I'm always a little skeptical when I'm interviewing somebody who's basically just worked at like one company or one or two companies. Like the more places you've worked, the more scenarios you've encountered probably, the more situations, the more like ways that you've tackled things because the different people you're working with and their experiences. There's a ton of value in kind of cutting your teeth at different places and having different experiences. It's one of the reasons that I wouldn't necessarily like, and other folks shouldn't either, look down on folks that have look like they've job hopped, because there's some tangential benefits to the job hopping that person is bringing to your organization, that they've seen things break in ways that maybe you haven't, and they have fixed those things in ways that maybe you haven't thought to try. And maybe in all of the different ways they've found to fix those things, they've found a couple that work better than some of the others. But it's a process of experimentation that they've lived through. I think one of the things that's been fun about this conversation in particular is you've had all these experiences. I've had a lot of them, maybe not like the product's just flat out broken, but those other scenarios of like product market fit and things where you're trying to come up with different ways to sort of cure the sales challenges you're having. It's just a huge benefit to you personally to have some of these things in your back pocket that you've lived through. We always close an episode with lessons learned. John, what is your lesson learned from this week?
Do you know about the Batman effect? Have you heard of this?
No.
So this was, I just learned about this. I can't remember how, but it like came up in a feed or whatever. So there was a group that did this study of if people behave differently when Batman is present. And so the study that they did is they had a pregnant woman.
I did see that.
Get onto the train, and then if someone
Right.
dressed as Batman was there, more people got up to give this person a spot to sit. And I just love that whole idea of the Batman effect.
I would love for the Batman person to actually have like a suit that has functioning shit on it. That would be great too. Mine is this is like a article on the Washington Post. And the headline is an investor called 140,000 the new poverty line. Experts disagreed but said he had a point. First of all, I'm sure people just kind of have a gut reaction to the 140K number.
Right.
But I think it's fair to say, right, that 100K salary, I think as a benchmark of success or however you might define that, does not mean nearly as much as it used to. I'd say even 10 years ago, right? Like, just an interesting thing to think about. Kind of a little sad maybe that we're living in more expensive times and inflation is just kind of a rough reality.
So I bought a gift for my wife for our anniversary. Purchased, shipping paid at purchase, on delivery, another shipping. 25% of the item cost. Said, you need to pay this. And I said, I don't want to pay that. And they said, well, then I'm going to take it back. So anyway, I sent it back.
Did you really?
My wife can... No. I should have. Yeah. I'm not buying her nothing. She can get her own stuff.
Well, this does explain the go back to the gold standard tattoo that you have on your arm. Yeah.
Neck.
We have a new website. So if you were to kind of like think about a through line of this episode, which is that products are constantly changing. And one of the things that product marketing, product management is invested in is is managing that change both internally and externally. I really like this as a tagline and for how we think about our work. Product has changed. Producthaschanged.com is the web address. You can find some fun resources, some tidbits about guests that we've had on the past episodes. Yeah, anything you want to say about that?
No, just horn sirens. Pew, pew, pew. You're welcome. No, pretty excited about it. Yeah, I really love Products Exchange as a tagline and as a kind of a moniker to think about how we think about our work. And yeah, we'll get all kinds of
visit
stuff.
the site.
Visit the site.
With that, episodes every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts, and you can find the episodes and shorts and stuff on YouTube as well. Bye.
Bye. See you, bud.